In this video, I'm gonna show you exactly how to grow radish from seed to harvest. Radishes are that quintessential garden crop that everyone out there recommends growing if you're a beginner. But I will confess to you, I did not like radishes for quite some time until I learned about some great ways to prepare them or pickle them in the kitchen. Now I grow them quite extensively and honestly quite a few varieties. But let's dive back into history and learn about where radishes came from. So the name radish, it comes from the Latin word radix, which means root, very fitting, but also the genus name is Raphanus, which is a Greek word for easily reared, pointing to how easy these plants are to grow. Like many plants in this family, radishes are thought to have originated in China, where truly wild radishes still exist today. But according to DNA studies, there's the possibility that they were domesticated separately and simultaneously in the regions of the Mediterranean and Asia. But regardless, the humble radish quickly spread across Asia and the Mediterranean and even appear in Egyptian depictions before the pyramids were built. Greeks, they prized radishes so much that they offered golden radishes to the god Apollo. Eventually, radishes made their way through Europe, where they were described as these giant vegetables, because they really were. But around the 16th century or so, you get into some of these smaller varieties that we grow today. So let's start off with something basic and classic. This would be the cherry bell radish. It's an heirloom, it's a 24-dayer, and it is just a sort of standard bulbously shaped red radish. Can't really go wrong with it. Next up, I've got a daikon radish for you. This is Miyashige white. The first time I actually saw daikon out in a field, in a garden, was actually at a brewery where they were using it to break up soil for a future natural vineyard. That's because the root is huge, my friends. It is a white root, goes down quite far, so you can actually use it as a cover crop to break up soil, but of course, most often used, pickled, used in Japanese cuisine. It is a fantastic one if you love a beautiful, long white radish. Next, one of my personal favorites, to be honest with you, and actually the favorite of many market gardeners and market farmers, this would be the beautiful French breakfast radish. The bottom of the root has this sort of white creamish color, and then it blends into a beautiful pink or blush as you go up. And it's a very mild spring grower. It's been around for hundreds of years for a reason. A radish that I implore you to consider in your garden, this is one that will be in my garden for many years to come, is the watermelon radish, or mantangong. It's a Chinese radish. Get up to a pound or so. So this is a big boy. Maybe this is one of the original radish from way back when it made its way through Europe and they were considered giant vegetables. Absolutely beautiful. You have this greenish white exterior that doesn't last for too long before you slice it open and you get this beautiful watermelon-esque interior. To me, the best way to enjoy this is to grow them big and then slice them on a mandolin as thin as possible. Throw them in some tacos or a salad. Radishes are one of the few plants that I really do recommend you direct sow, meaning you put it in the place you want it to be instead of growing it maybe in the greenhouse or in some sort of seed starting tray. Not to say it's impossible, but your life's just a lot easier if you direct sow it. And so what you want to do is grab your favorite pack. I'm going in with some French breakfast radish as well as that Easter egg blend, so I just kind of don't really know what I'm gonna get. And when it comes to radish timing, they're one of the more forgiving plants out there because they're one of the quickest growing plants out there, meaning that they can make it to harvest before any sort of adverse growing conditions affect them. But what I would say is if you're growing a large radish, you'll want to bias that towards the beginning and end of the season, that early spring, that late fall. All these smaller ones you can really get away with most times of the year, provided at least in the heat of the summer you give them ample shade. But I mean, look at the seeds. They're absolutely massive seeds. General rule of thumb, the bigger the seed, the more there's a case to direct sow it, especially if it's a root crop. So beets, radishes, they all do really well. This is a really great crop for grow bags. These are actually our epic grow bags. Back in the day, I wrote a little book called Grow Bag Gardening, and there were some things I love about grow bags, things that I hated about grow bags. So we made these lined grow bags that protect about 2/3 of it from losing a ton of water, which is some of the problems that you notice with grow bags. And the rest of it is actually unlined on the bottom, so you still get that air pruning benefit. But regardless, I'm now going in with the Easter egg blend, and spacing wise, a good rule of thumb is just space it at least maybe twice as far away as the radish would be wide. So if it's gonna be a 1-inch radish, you could probably get away with putting it about 2 inches apart or so, and you're good. Really, this crop is so easy to grow, guys. That's why everyone recommends it as a first crop for beginners. The only thing I'd say is have a plan for what you want to do with radish, because yeah, it might be an easy crop to grow, but if you don't know what the hell you want to do with it in the kitchen, then you're kind of going to grow it and just wonder what you're doing and why you did it. I get so many emails from people saying, oh, I grew something, but I don't know what to do with it. I just ended up kind of giving up on gardening, and that's not what we want to see. So maybe at the end, I'll show you a couple things. But all I need to do now is just water this in. All right, we just need to get this soil wet enough that it's going to penetrate those seed holes. And once I see it starting to drain through, you kind of see the shine leave the top of the soil, and you see it get to a more grainy texture. I'm gonna put this in a space probably right here, right next to the greenhouse, so I can keep an eye on it. We'll check in with you when they start to sprout. It's been about 2 weeks, a lot of rain, so I haven't had to water my radish grow bag, and they are doing really well. So what you wanna look at this point in time, there's a couple things to look for. Number one, any pest damage. I'm getting some here. It isn't the end of the world, but it's a little more than I would like. You can tell that it's a pest because of just the pattern, right? You're not gonna get a disease that's doing this. And in fact, I think I can see just a little tiny bug there that might be munching away. So radish can suffer from it, but they're such a quick growing crop that you don't have to worry about pests too much. They're vigorous. They will sort of push through some of that damaged growth. Then the other thing you just wanna look for is spacing. So, take a look, let's say right about here, these two, they're right next to one another. Now radish, much like beets and some other crops, they can be kind of close together, because what'll happen is that root will swell and they'll push themselves apart from another. The leaves will kind of be going out like this in a Y shape. The roots will still be attached, that sort of tail taproot will be attached to the soil. So in this case, it's an interesting example of how you kind of don't have to thin. If you really wanted to, and let's get in here, I'll show you exactly how I would do it. Let's just say I really wanted to thin. One thing I might do, you can notice there's a very, very small radish here, slightly smaller one, and a big one, and then an even bigger one. These might be a little bit close. When this one gets to a decent harvestable size, maybe a baby radish, I would, and I'll do it for you, I would just very carefully kind of rotate it out. See how I'm kind of only isolating that one? And you can tell this is a very small, looks like a French breakfast radish, actually quite pretty, probably quite delicious, but you can tell what I mean. When that radish is in the ground, roughly here is the soil level, right? And so what it's gonna do is it's gonna kind of go like that, but this entire taproot will still be in the soil. So you can get a lot more out of your radish crop by doing it this way without thinning and not sort of, just wasting time, wasting seed. But let's give this a quick little crunch, baby radish, and we'll be back when it's time to actually harvest. No fertilizing needed here. Don't stress, just enjoy. Nice and fresh, right after the rain. It's a more mild flavor at this stage. And honestly, if you're a chef, you're probably jealous, because that was probably, $1. These radishes can be quite expensive. All right, my friends, today's the day. The radish grow bag is complete. Let's give it a hoist. This guy's pretty heavy. Whew. That guy's heavy, let me tell you. All right, so the radish is ready, and here's how you know. It's pretty obvious, one of the easiest plants to tell if it is ready to harvest. You can see there's a couple radish right next to one another, and this is a good opportunity to do like a thinning harvest. So I can take this larger red variety right here, pull this out of the way, and I'll let this guy keep on growing. That way I've thinned it out a little bit, but I also want to go for some big guys. This looks like probably a Cherry Belle style radish right here, really beautiful one. Beauty of radishes, you can really just do whatever you want with them. They grow so quickly and they're so forgiving. If you harvest it a little early or whatever, you can just go ahead and plant another round. It's not a big deal at all. Somewhere in this forest here, we've got a beauty. This one looks pretty solid. That's a nice one right there. For me, the younger the better on radish. I want a little bit more of a mild, fresh, crisp than I do want like this overgrown, large, slightly bitter, just not so tasty radish. You can see why radish are used oftentimes, usually tillage radish, are used in the fields to actually break up soil, because look at these holes that we're developing here. It's going down in and it is breaking up the soil. Typically you'd use like a daikon radish if you were doing that. In fact, I was in Austin once at a winery, biodynamic winery, and they were using daikon radish to kind of really break up the soil before they put in the actual vineyard. Oh, and look at that, a failure. 2 failures. This is what happens when you plant them too close together. They really don't have a lot of time to develop. Showing you just a bit of a mistake on my part, but let's take these over to the prep table. I'll show you what to do. Here's our little crew of radish. Now, one of the best ways to enjoy radish is, of course, fresh. So let me take this French breakfast, and what I'll do is, if I'm going to eat it fresh, I can take the entire top off and let that one go. And I can of course take this little tail off. And then what I'll do is come over to my harvest sink and I'll give it a really quick rinse. So now I've got a beautiful fresh radish right here. So what I like to do, and something I learned from a friend of mine who we just had on the Epic podcast, Gerald Stratford in the UK, said his favorite way to do it is just with a little bit of sea salt. And I'm putting more than a little bit on, if I'm being honest. Cheers, this is how I like to enjoy a radish. That salt really helps to bring the flavor out, but tempers some of that bitterness, really nice. But most of you probably aren't eating all your radish in the field. What you're probably gonna do is want to store them. So this is what I really recommend for storage. The biggest tip is to not wash them or not cut into the actual root at all. All you need to do is remove about 95% of the top right here. So come in, do this, there you go. And it's gonna be the same for the rest of these. Why? Because if you wash this, it's going to start the process of rotting. If you don't, and you leave the dirt on, you're giving it some time, a little bit of a protective barrier. So let the soil dry and then store these in a plastic bag in the fridge. That's the best way to do it. All you need to do is just take the tops off. Radishes, an easy crop, fun crop, and a crop that I've certainly learned to enjoy in the kitchen as well. I'm gonna give the scraps to the chickens. Hope you learned something. We got full grow guides here on the channel, and any seeds you want at Botanical Interests, our seed company. Till next time, good luck in the garden and keep on growing.